Good morning.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Afternoon.
Hello.
Happy post 4th of July if you're in the United States.
That's right.
Hey, Stacy, thanks for joining. First one, woohoo! I'm very festive. It's Meshell's balloons in the background. You know, it's just it just really pops.
Yeah, pops, no pun intended.
Oh, don't let him have a ball.
Ta-da-ta, right? Is that what ta-da-ta?
All right, so let's see, we have, oh, and it looks like Meshell, I got you twice.
Oh, you can take the other one is my, unless you want it, you guys will receive a transcript of this conversation. It's my AI transcriber.
Oh, you can keep that on if you want. It's fine
Yeah,
with me.
but anybody that was on the meeting invite for this, your email, it automatically sends you a link to the transcription.
All right,
Oh,
cool.
very nice.
Oh,
You're using that technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's technology.
I'm just like, how do I share the screen? Like, it's just for AI, so love it. All right.
All right.
Well,
Well,
let's
here we
get
go,
started,
talking about
shall we?
sharing screens.
Sam's in charge of that. It's one less stress, you know. If it was me, I'm just going to be all over the place. I'll do what I do best and talk. That's what I'm good at. All right, we got a few people joining us live. We're so excited. Welcome everyone to the People Strategy Forum. My name is Jules. We're really excited to have you here, whether you're joining us live on Zoom or from another streaming platform, or maybe you're listening to us through your headphones, because we also have a podcast in case you don't know. And really what we're here to do is really help engage, energize, and elevate your employees and your company. We really want to help you. That's why we bring on a special guest speaker each and every week to give you free, valuable information. So we are really excited about our guest speaker today, who I'll introduce in a moment. But if you've never joined us here before, and I've noticed the last few weeks, we've had some new people hopping in, and you know, I see you all. I'm always in the chat, like looking who's here. So if you are new, we're very excited to have you. We hope you keep on coming back, keep on listening, because like I said, this is really valuable stuff. I even learn a lot just by sitting on the sidelines. So if you have any questions at all, please write them in the chat and address them to everybody so we can all see what your question is. Or even if you just have comments, feedback for our speaker, you want to cheer them on, you want to like say, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, or I've been in a similar situation, anything like that, put it in the chat and we'll make sure that all of that goes to our speaker. Now let me introduce everybody here, because you can, if you're on the Zoom, you can see we have a nice full house. We love when this happens. We have a lot of great experts here on our panel here to help you out. Let's start with Shah. Now, Shah has a very long and extensive experience working as a corporate HR professional, but she's also an entrepreneur. She runs various small businesses, not just in the US, but down in Mexico too. So she's a professional nomad, and she also works as a consultant and career coach as well. If I head over to Sumit, we have Sumit here as well, and he is based in India. He is a people strategist and an HR consultant who really thrives going into organizations, seeing how they can improve all their different HR processes, and he implements more successful strategies for them. We also have Howard. Now, Howard works over at Comp Team with Sam's team. He's a compensation expert. He has a lot of many years of experience working with companies and implementing better compensation programs and strategies. And he's very good at implementing better systems. So that's our team. We also have Sam, who brings us this wonderful forum each and every week. He is also the founder and CEO of Comp Team. So he is a reward strategist, compensation expert, and he's helped so many organizations alongside his team to bring better reward initiatives, help with talent management, and implement better compensation programs so that they can be more successful. So that's our panel. Now to our lovely guest speaker. If you're on the live, you got to appreciate the background. She's got balloons as her background, and it's so festive and so fun. So I already know this is going to be a great conversation today. So we have have Meshell Baker, and she is the founder of Meshell Baker Enterprises. She is a speaker. She ignites confidence in female business owners, leaders, confidence coach. So she is a very successful entrepreneur. We're very excited to have her here. And she is going to be telling us all about how we can fall back in love with our why, because that's, you know, our why is so important. If you don't know what your purpose is in life, then why are you doing anything, right? So we're very excited to have you, Meshell. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for putting a fun background, and we're just excited to have you here.
Oh, well, it's absolutely a pleasure. This is my favorite topic. This is one of those places where I can't not. So I can't not be bubbly. I can't not, you know, ignite confidence and inspire people to have a better life, right? So this topic is just, this is my jam, so to speak. So wherever you want to start, I'll simply start with saying it is, you know, one of the things I was a sales rep before I became an entrepreneur. And even as a sales rep, I did it as an answer to what I was naturally inclined to do, which was to leave people better off for having met me. So when people would ask me what I did, I said, oh, I get to go out and visit people all day. And they would go, what? I was like, oh yeah, I'm a sales rep. Because in my mind, that's what I got to do, right? Managers who call me liquid sunshine, they would just be like, you're catnip. Like, how do you do that? How do you make so many people enjoy being around you? And I'm like, because I enjoy being around them.
Yes.
That's the part of life that I love the most, is that we forget that everything you do in business is a contact sport. You can't not come in contact with other people. So learning to love making contact is what makes it so much more fun.
Well, I have to say, Meshell, I love the title of your ambition there, Ignite Confidence. And I absolutely know I'm not very good at sales. So I do know that if you're going to be a good salesperson, you have to have confidence. Absolutely, 100%. And then I love that you're talking about igniting your confidence and igniting your why, because you can't be very confident if you don't understand your why. So tell us, how did you get into this concept and this whole topic? What inspired your why to get into this?
Well, what inspires my why is my sister. So I come from a blue collar background. I am the child of two people who were raised in the South. My dad actually picked cotton. My grandfather was a sharecropper. My mother was raised by washers at the university, which was in walking distance of her home, which she could not attend because it was no colors were allowed. My birth certificate actually says colored on it. So I'm colored. My parents are colored. So I call it a historical document.
Wow.
So I was raised to be a good, quiet Southern Baptist girl, and it's enough. Don't ask for more. What you have is enough. So I had a deeper calling, and every time I would go somewhere, people would lom onto me. They'd want, and I couldn't understand what was happening and why I naturally had this affinity to attract people, because I was taught to be quiet and good and not want and stay away, and people weren't safe and all of that stuff. And so when I finally got exhausted from trying to do what was counterintuitive to my nature, I actually found that I had a gift for speaking, and I had a gift for inspiring people. And it was the answer to a first question, my first bout of depression, which led to being diagnosed with suicidal ideation, was to find a way to just feel good about myself. And the answer that came through me was to leave people better off. So it's been my mantra for over 20 years, is to focus on you, focus on how I can leave you better off. So how do you leave someone better off? Well, most people are struggling. So talk about what they want to talk about what inspires them, ask them questions about what delights them and excites them and ignites them, and move them in that. And so that became my mastery. How do I help people to move in a direction of something that would leave them better for having had a life?
Yes, I absolutely love that. In fact, I'd love to hear from a couple of our co-hosts today. I'm going to put Sumit and Howard on the spot, and Jules. What could you tell us, me and Meshell, about your why? What's your why?
Well, I'll share mine. So I just put mine in the chat there. Mine is more about, I like to help companies. I mean, the reason why I got into the business that I did is I love to help leaders, craft those workplaces that are more fun and rewarding for their people. I mean, because the one thing that I started with is I went to my first job. It was just so stressful and so boring, and it was just not like, it was not fun at all. So I started thinking, it's like, I have to live the rest of my life doing this. And so it's like, creating those places are so important for leaders, and really understanding their people. So I think that is what I would consider my why, the reason why I go to work every day, and the reason why I love it.
Yeah, I worked in a lot of high pressure organizations and financial services, and my approach was always to go in, understand the business, get people to take a step back, try and simplify things, do things that would both be beneficial to the company and to the employees. And, working closely with the HR reps, you say, Howard, you're always so calm. It's like, we're not doing brain surgery here. No one's dying at the table. Take a breath, and it's like, oh, you had the sense of urgency and craziness that's just, it precluded you from doing and delivering the best solution when you're just fighting the fire.
Yes.
Absolutely. How about Sumit and Jules? What do you guys have to say?
I would say I love inspiring people. Just I feel like a lot of people say that, when they see me traveling and just living, my best life, they get inspired. They're like, wow, I didn't know that I could do that. Like when I've traveled solo, they're like, wow, that's like so cool. Like, how do I do that? So I feel like for me, it's inspiring others just by leading by example. And I don't even think anything of that. I just like live my life, but people get inspired. And I think everyone needs that person that they look to go, wow, if they can do it, I can do it. So I like to be that person for people, kind of like lead the way and test all the things so that, I can like, figure out all the murky waters and then, clear the way for everyone else. And then otherwise just my family. Like I grew up with immigrant parents. It wasn't an easy life for them. I didn't really notice it growing up because, when you're a kid, you don't understand like struggles of an immigrant till you look back and you're like, oh damn, like they like worked really hard to have, make sure I had everything. So yeah, I just wake up every day wanting to just work, help take care of them, give them like the nice vacations that they didn't have when, they were trying to take care of me and my siblings. And yeah, so family is another big one for me.
Mm.
How about you, Sumit? We're doing a round table. It's like Thanksgiving.
What are you grateful for? Right.
I think for me, it's important to give back and to help other people feel enriched with any interaction. So my focus is whether I'm working with a client, whether I'm volunteering in animal rescue, the idea is to enrich lives. And of course, there are opportunities that get created for oneself in the process, but that's incidental. So the primary focus is to give or to give back.
Mm-hmm. Great. And I'll just quickly say, I think mine is more, I think every employee deserves a best employee experience with any employer. I think helping employers create that employee experience, because I think over the last, decade or so, many employers have lost their way. So, and then also I think employees need to find their true passion and their true drive, their why, and leave. If they're miserable, leave and find something better. So Meshell, how do you help your clients? I mean, what type of clients typically work with you? Is it individuals or companies or a combination?
A combination. So I work with mostly female founders, women business leaders, and sales leaders, but that doesn't preclude me from, like, one of my clients is currently, he's the CEO of an aviation company here in the local area. And so working with him and the leadership team, and then moving down. So we've created a plan. Well, I'll start with them and then we'll move through the company. I have another organization, a nonprofit. I work with some of the executive directors directors because they are not direct sellers. However, the impact of confidence. And so I always generally start with leaders and I move throughout the company. And I challenge the leader to bring me in for a talk or a workshop. And I'm like, after I complete, you ask your team if they want me back.
Oh,
So that's what we do. And every time it's a yes.
hey, that's fantastic. So yeah, definitely
You
getting
don't
the
have to
front
pay
line
for
feedback.
everything. Just take the sampler. And if they say yes, then we go into the meal.
Well, I do love that. I do love that idea because I think oftentimes executives make decisions like this in a silo. They think they know what employees need or want or what they, and meanwhile, the employee's like, what are you doing? Yet another program, another thing. That's not really what I'm interested. I'd like something that's meaningful for me. And so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
So
have you found over the last several years, particularly with all of our world challenges, that this topic is in bigger need right now? Do you feel that people are going through so much change? It's like we need to reground ourselves and find our why.
yes, absolutely. And I see it more and more. The great resignation is, people who don't want to go back to commuting. They didn't want to go back to hostile work environments. They actually found a way to survive and thrive without doing jobs that they hate. Like Sam mentioned, I was that too early in my career. I had jobs that were absolutely miserable and I switched gears and found something I loved, because I remember the professor said, if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So that's kind of been the impetus for what I help people, is to create environments where people thrive, right? You don't, secure top talent finds you. Right. So when you create an environment of confidence and a space where people can thrive, they actually will bring you more talented people. And I always think, see the scenario of after work when people are hanging out at a barbecue or a happy hour and they're talking, and it's like, oh God, I hate my job, I hate my boss, blah blah blah. You want that one person to be that, fly in the wall or ointment, to be like, oh my God, I love where I work. Absolutely. Yeah. And then what does everybody do? Turn and look at that person and go, where do you work? So when you create that scenario for your workplace, it will thrive. You actually will create an engine that will continue to move forward. But that's the challenge. How do you do that, right? In an ever-changing constant, what we know now to be true after COVID is change is the constant. And there's still a lot of people fighting change. They still want things to be the way it used to be, or don't, right? Instead of embracing. That is the constant. Change is always and has always existed. We were just insulated. Now the insulation is gone.
Right. Well, and I definitely think that all of this upheaval in our world has really forced all of us as employers and as employees to completely shift our mindset and to really reevaluate where we're happy, and really realizing what's the most important thing in your life is your family and your loved ones and time with your loved ones, and definitely realizing that you should not be wasting your time on earth and things that you don't enjoy. You're talking to several of us from former corporate lives, so we totally understand. There's nothing wrong with corporate. But I also think you touched on another one. Instead of hiring these high-paid recruiters, really the best recruiters of your company is the people that work there. The best recruiters are the people say, I absolutely love the company I'm working with. The leadership is awesome. They really take care of us. I just enjoy going out to work every day. And I think that's the number one recruiter, right?
Yes, and it still holds true. People trust people, right? I mean, I'm in sales, and right, buyer, what is the number one way, right? Referrals and recommendations. We trust those quicker than we would someone who actually came and cold called us. So the same holds true for any human interaction, right? We'll trust people that we know, like, and trust, right? And know, like, and respect. So that seems to be something that holds true as well. Yeah.
No, I have to say my company is kind of on the line of sales. We do have health advocacy, but we do have kind of a product that we align to our clients. And it's a real delicate balance to find someone that has the sensitivity and the emotional empathy for the client, but also is a really good salesperson. And since I'm not personally great at sales, because I never want to offend anybody or interrupt their dinner time kind of attitude, um, I struggle with it. So recruiting that great person is always a challenge. So I think
Yeah.
it's awesome. And then
Yeah.
also, go ahead.
And I was gonna say, sometimes it's not recruiting them. Sometimes you have to train them, right? And that's, so when I'm working with sales teams, it's the confidence over competence, right? So I actually help sales teams to think about top performers in sales. Don't worry about whether they're going to sell or not, right? They don't worry about whether they're offending you. Their focus is that I am valuable, what I have is valuable, and let me give you the opportunity. They also harvest, they don't hunt, right? People who struggle with sales are constantly hunting, trying to get a client. People who are top performers are nurturing what they've been given, knowing that they're going to create a pipeline of consistent flow of people who are ready to buy, right?
Yeah.
And they understand, like any good farmer, when you first get the land, there's no crop. So I got to go out and do the work, and I cultivate this pipeline where what people aren't taught, that they don't understand that. And that's all mental, right? Sales, I tell, is one of the hardest jobs. It's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's draining because you're dealing with rejection all day long if you have not been trained to perceive what's happening to you in a different fashion.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, sometimes I overhear the phone calls of my business partner, and sometimes I just cringe because some people could be so blatantly rude, I'm just flat out, just nasty rude, and just calling you names and saying how stupid you are and whatever commentary you have. But having the ability to have the confidence to brush it off is quite
Yep.
the competency to brush it off and still maintain that positive attitude and keep that smile on your face and not let it ruin the rest of your work day. It's got to be very difficult when you're training, and working with sales teams. And then if you got a superstar salesperson, I'm sure that's hard for the other people that are struggling to be a superstar, salesperson, right? Because then there's the lack of confidence. I can't do that. I can't do what so-and-so is doing, right?
Well, yeah, it depends, right? So the environments that I help people create is the look at yourself, not the other person, right? And when you see somebody who has something that you want, it's just the indicator to go ask a question, right?
Yeah.
Like, I find that the person who triggers me the most becomes my best friend, right? Because that means that they have created an awareness in me. There's a gap for me to fill to become better. In order to have more in life, we're meant to become more. Genie and Santa Claus ain't coming. So everything that's triggering you is meant for you to go through it so you can get to the other side, so you can build the character and refine yourself so you can now not allow it to bother you. You're meant to expand your mind so you can receive everything that already exists. Because if your mind doesn't expand, that's like eyewitness testimony. Everybody sees something different when the crime happens. Life is happening through you, not to you. And until you expand your mind, it's just going to keep going through you in a painful way instead of a possibility, a probability, right? And that's the work that I do with people.
Right. Well, and I think it's
Meshell,
really important. Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, so I was just going to say, it sounds like the real key here is to have the mindset of delivering value. So if you're doing things that you love, if you're enjoying what you do, you're not so worried about performance because you're in it for a different reason. You're in it because this is what you love. You're trying to help others. You're trying to drive value, and the performance naturally comes. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So sorry to interrupt you, Shar. What was your
Oh, I was going to get into the topic of really encouraging your teams to help each other and coach and mentor each other. I think is so vital. With those with the great can-do attitude that can ignite that energy, excitement, and enthusiasm, I think it's really important as a leader, as a trainer, to partner those individuals up with those that maybe have different strengths or different skill sets, be it maybe right or wrong, but to partner the opposites together in a way. What are your thoughts on that, Meshell?
Can you restate the question?
Partnering those with different strengths. So like someone with a really strong background with somebody that maybe is more, let's say, detail oriented. That's a good one.
Yes,
um,
yes.
and putting those individuals together to support one another.
Yeah, so now I'm hearing what you're saying. Yes. And sometimes people, and actually prefacing why. So many times people don't know why, and we look at the differences of people and we want to judge, right? So the other thing is, instead of being a judger, right, become curious. I call it a curious observation, right? And understand, ask more questions about why. Oh, I wouldn't have done it that way. I'm curious, why did you do it that way? Because when you start to understand why somebody's doing something, it helps your mind start to synthesize various ways for you to come up with solutions. The reason people are stuck is because they're limited in their vision and their perception of how things can be done, right? Because they've always done it this way, right? Or they've only seen the limited ways to do it. So the more you see other people doing things different way, your unconscious mind, which is a supercomputer, constantly synthesizing all day long, and it's either working for you or against you. And I tell people, if you're not getting the life you want, it is constantly creating scenarios of what you don't have, what you didn't get, why you're wrong, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with everybody else, instead of going, oh my God, this is awesome. Oh my God, I can do that. Oh my God, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe this is happening, right? So you're either being led to fear or excitement, which are biologically the same in our body. It's just the thought, that the thread of thinking that we follow, that creates one scenario or the other. So when you match up with people who are different, it expands the possibility for you when you are curious and not judging.
Right. Well, yeah, and I have Sam here. He's asking how do we find or discover each other's passions? I mean, what are some ways that we really have those conversations to really dig in and find our employees' passions and drives and our team's passions? I mean, what are some tools or techniques that you would suggest?
Well, I would asking people what they're good at. So one of the things that I find with people is that they already are good at something. They just have not become hyper aware of it because they're so busy looking at what we're not good at. We negative, right? Research shows that we have a propensity that negativity gives us a higher hit of endorphin. This is why people rubberneck. And this is why I don't care how positive you are, when somebody starts to go do that little gossip thing. Did you hear what happened to so-and-so? We all go, what? Because it's like this hit of endorphin that happens in us because we are negative by nature, because that's our scarcity and safety, our reptilian brain, which still has the strongest inclination in our body. So becoming positive creates work, right? So again, helping people to find their passions is starting to ask them questions like, what do you like to do? What do you do? What lights you up? What are you doing? What excites you? What are you naturally good at? One of my favorite questions is to ask people, you're an expert in something. What is it? And people kind of don't answer. I said, so think about this, right? You know how you are, what is the dish that you can make? If you can cook, everybody has a dish that your family loves you to bring to the barbecue or to Thanksgiving, right? There's something that you can do that people know that you can do it and you don't even think about it, right? So if you went somewhere and they only had 80% of the ingredients, you could still pull it off, right? If you needed to go to the grocery store, to a store you'd never been to, you wouldn't need to make a list most often because you know what goes in it. That makes you an expert. What is something that you can do like that? Most people have never been stopped and asked that question to really think about what makes them proud of themselves. And to bring that emotion out, now we have that emotion. Now let's attach that emotion to something else that you want to do, right? So get the vision of what you're going to feel like when, after repeatedly doing something you're struggling with, that how are you going to feel when you get to that place where you're feeling good about that? So no matter what you feel now, hold the vision and the emotion, because whatever you're feeling right now is historical data.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's what most people don't know how to do, is attach the feeling of what they want to what they're actually doing to get there. They keep berating themselves with the past experiences, the past emotions. And in order to create and manifest, right, a good word, of what you want, the life you want of amazing, you must hold the energy and emotion of amazing, regardless of what you see, feel, hear right now. That's how you ignite your why. That's what makes it start to come through you and be your guiding North Star.
Oh, are you noticing the chat going on about everybody talking about what their favorite dish is?
Instant
Boiling.
noodles, I love this. Jokes apart, white sauce pasta, vegan, my dish of choice. Sounds tasty.
Oh yeah, and Sumit has shared some of his vegan food with us. So there's like vegan jerky.
I didn't
How's
cook
that
that though. That was store-bought.
Well, you know, you can always throw a bouillon in your boiling water and that'll make it into something.
Yes.
No, I was, you know, one of the thoughts, Meshell, that came through my mind is that I think many of us have a fear of failure.
Yes.
And, you know, and I think that, you know, those people that are more risk takers, they're like, you know, my dish is probably not going to turn out that great, but I'm going to finally make lasagna. You know, finally make lasagna. Never made it before, but I'm going to give it a shot, right? And you know, don't even know what the recipe is, but hey, that is why there's YouTube. But but you know, but I do believe that people are so afraid of failure or looking bad in front of their boss or their teammates that they're
Yeah.
afraid to do and exceed above and, like you said, expand your mind, do something beyond your comfort zone, because we don't want to embarrass ourselves. So I think healthy cultures are like, no, it's okay to fail. It's okay if we make
Yes.
mistakes, right?
Yeah, I even saw like Submit was like, yep, it's okay to right? Because there is no success without failure. It's two sides of a coin, right? Because success is not instantaneous. Success is acquired over time, right? I always think of the rule of mastery, right? Because mastery means now that I've integrated it, it's part of my identity and I can't not do it. That's always the goal for me and my clients, right? I tell people, if you're hiring someone and they're not helping you create a habit, run. Because then you got to start from square one again. The goal is to get to habit, to get to habituation, so you can't not do it, right? When you wake up, your mind doesn't even, that's what expands. Habits expand, and most of the world is living in habits that don't serve them. I don't go good or bad because we are the sum total of our habits, so I don't call myself good or bad. I'm either expanding or contracting. Right. So that is helping people to create and to integrate into their beingness so they can't not do the things that are leading them to what they love.
But also, yeah, I also think, you know, I guess maybe traditionally we've compartmentalized, like there's the work me and then there's the out of work me. And so, you know, I may have all these passions and you know, drives that people are not aware of. And it's like, how do you bring that to the work environment where you say, oh, this is what I do for work, but outside of work, I have all these passions and things that make me excited. And then work, you know, I got to get my paycheck.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a very great question. And that is, so I know, you know, finding work you love is not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes you got to do things to pay the bills. I mean, I've been there too, where I needed to just, you know, stock shelves or do something like that. I've had many flavored background of different jobs that I've done. And what I bring to that job is still the joy and the gratitude that this is just part of my process of going to where my vision is, right? No one gets there in a straight line. We always need to stop and take divergence, and there's setbacks and failures and dissuasions and naysayers and critics. So the expectation that it's going to be easy and it's going to be joyful and happy and peppy the whole time is ridiculous. So one of the things I find is whatever you want from someone else, give it to them. So if you want to talk about your passions, then you start talking to other people about their passions, and you're never going to get it from the same place. You rarely ever get what you give from the same place, and you will receive it at some time in due time, because what you're building is the character and the quality of someone who's passionate. And that way you're giving of your passions wherever you go, and it will come. And that's how you start to invoke more passion into the work and the life that you have. But people are looking to get stuff. It's a one-way path. It's exhaustive. And I ask people, do you like it when somebody takes something from you? I've never had anybody say, yeah, like of course it's something you don't want, but if somebody unexpectedly starts taking stuff from you, you don't want that to happen. And that's what happened when someone's trying to get something. When they want something, they're trying to get, so they're taking. When you focus on giving, it's reciprocal. it builds you up in the other person. It builds your creativity, because now you're thinking about, how can I give this person this? How can I leave this person better off for having met me? My quality is passion. So how can I invoke passion into people I meet, random people I meet on the street, right? And that's what creates this magnanimous character and attracts incredible opportunity to you. And this is what we don't teach enough of. We're teaching people how to get, we're not teaching people how to become valuable.
Right. I think about, you know, you just got me thinking about going to a networking event. And if I'm doing all the talking at a networking event, what am I really learning? You know, if I'm
Exactly.
constantly talking about my fabulous career and all the great places I've lived, and people are asking me tons of questions, and then you walk out and go, what did I really learn from this experience other than just talking about myself the whole time? It'd be far more rewarding learning about other people and their backgrounds and what they do, and inspire something else in a different mindset, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think, what did Sam just ask me? What do we do if we temporarily lose passion for our work? And it happens, right? I've been an entrepreneur for 9 years, and there was a period where I lost that loving feeling, right? And so what I realized, and what I did was I realized that it was just a shifting of who I was becoming, right? It was that pressure to start to invest in myself, right? And then do more things that I love, right? So incorporating more things that I love that were not work related into my life helped me to invoke in, and knew that, and understanding that I don't set times on when. I always tell people, when you're focusing on creating a habit, because this is what I've come to realize, successful and wealthy people don't worry about WHEN. They do have goals and targets. Their goal is actually to habituate. Because once you habituate, you can't not hit the target, and you will consistently. That's how you maintain and sustain. If you focus on getting something, you stop. You're there. You're like, now what? And this is what most of the world lives in. They keep acquiring, achieving, and obtaining all these things, and they're still miserable because they haven't internally changed. And so that's the goal, is, again, finding the things. It's just that awareness to tell you that it's time to look at what, it's time to change. It's time to add. It's time to shift. It's time to prune, or that's all it is. Life is either you're moving away or from. It's every indicator is either, press through or go in a different direction.
Andre Bloom was on, he just had a question. And you gonna say that, Jules?
Oh, no, go ahead. All good.
Andre was asking, and he's one of our sponsors. He was asking, do you think everybody has a passion? And like you said, at one point you might lose your passion. Meshell, can you describe?
Yes, I believe everybody is a gift to humanity, and we're all part of a tapestry. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. I believe that our soul is energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred or transformed by the law of physics. So therefore, we all have a higher purpose, because we just don't all get to uncover it. And that is like my mission, to ignite and inspire much joy and enthusiasm as many people as possible, so I can at least point them in a direction of something that will excite and delight them at some juncture in this life, right? And I believe that people who have acquired that, it is your responsibility to help other people as well.
Yeah, well, I have to say, sometimes leaders get into a rut with about what they want to do with an employee. So a lot of times leaders will focus on the negative, focus on the corrective action, the goals that an employee has not met, use that performance evaluation as the time, because they need to have a certain type of merit percentage per employee. This is very HR-ish, but it's true. I mean, leaders know they only have a certain number of percentages on a performance eval. So let's focus on all the negativity or the things that somebody didn't accomplish. And then we wonder why employees lose their mojo. I call it mojo, right?
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, why should I perform for a leader that really has no acknowledgement of the positive aspects of what I'm doing well and my strengths and what I'm achieving, and constantly focusing on the negative of what I'm not doing well, right?
Exactly.
and it does the reverse aspect, you know, it does the absolute opposite of what you're trying to achieve by igniting that passion, energy, and enthusiasm for doing a great job.
Yes, yes. Like the story or the analogy I like to give is think about Olympic athletes, right? And I've had a client who's an Olympic athlete, so I validated this, right? So there's about 2,600 athletes at any game, right? Out of 7.7 billion people at the last Winter Games. So do the math and calculations and permutations of what it takes to be that athlete, right? Now, having said that, that athlete started at a very young age of having an interest in athleticism, and the adult needed to help them. That child could not become an athlete. Somebody needed to buy them equipment, to take them to practice, to invest money in them. That child did not win every game. That child failed a lot and wanted to give up a lot. But the adult saw the talent. The adult held the vision for them until that child could hold it themselves. As a leader, we are called to hold the vision for our people until they can hold it. And this is what most leaders are refusing to do, is hold the vision or even create the vision or create compelling visions that other people can hold and become a part of. And the biggest way to help someone to become a part of the vision is help them to uncover their vision so the visions interweave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that this is totally on Sumit's radar, because Sumit loves to talk about sports, right, Sumit?
That's
Did
true,
you
yeah.
have a commentary?
No, I was actually thinking of an opposite example. If you read the book Open by Andre Agassi, he talks about, I mean, one would imagine that he's been there, done that, he's won practically everything there is to win, and he'd have a passion for the sport. In the book, he talks about how he hated it, and his father actually forced him to play. So I think even without passion, one can possibly succeed at a lot of things, but I would imagine it takes a piece out of you. So succeeding with passion, it's easier. It's aligned with your, let's say, with your magnetic north. But you can still do things which go against what you're passionate about. But I'm sure it's emotionally and physically draining as well. Meshell, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. Well, the topic of this conversation is about finding your why, right? So that was not his why. It's a beautiful example of someone who became incredibly successful at something that was not his why. We see this with celebrities and politicians and people in high places who have followed this, what they think they need to, ought to, should be doing, and then they implode, right? Luckily, he didn't implode, but many of them implode. Because at some point when you're doing stuff that's disingenuous or not aligned with you, you can't trust. You don't trust that other people would really care or believe in you, because you're not doing something that you really care or believe in. You're doing it because you're good at it, because you were told to, you were kind of forced, you were conditioned to, but it's not what you really believe in. That's why the why is so important, because that becomes your North Star and your center. And then you start to gravitate and attract more people who are similar, like-minded, and that's how you begin to expand and life gets better. Right? I mean, I wasn't always, I worked in corporate and I did really well in corporate, but I did it because I'm formerly incarcerated and I thought I needed to go get a degree and be a good girl so I could remove the stain of what I had did and make my family proud. Right? And that's literally why I did that. I got the house, the fiance, all the stuff, the promotions, the MBA, everything. I was absolutely miserable. I was good at it, right? But I was miserable. And it wasn't until I actually stepped out. That's why I said second bout of depression, right? Wasn't until I stepped out and I actually started asking and listening to myself, right? Through getting time off, and because I was suicidal diagnosed a second time, getting that time off and getting to become cathartic and really hear and recognize, what do I love to do? And I followed that thread. Right. And again, so I totally agree with everything you're saying, but having that why, it's not just, people don't say it just to be willy-nilly. What they're really looking is to help people create a life there. It's satisfaction and fulfillment, right? If you've ever read the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, done by the nurse who was this hospice nurse who worked with all of these patients who were basically patients who were on, you know, on their way out. The number one regret is not living a life true to yourself. The second top regret is working too much. This is why I do what I do, because I do not have those regrets.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fabulous. And that just talks about, you know, there's times that we have failures in our life. Every single person has a failure in their life at some point. None of us are perfect. Nobody.
Oh my God, no.
I mean, seriously, there's skeletons, and I assume in most people's closets. But what would you do if a company really hasn't aligned their mission, vision, values, and aligning the why to the employee? Because that's very often for companies not to take the time to do. So what would you do to address that with a company?
So I've actually had this experience before. So it's bringing them all in. And so first is working with the leadership team to clarify what is the vision? What are you actually wanting to create? How do you see yourself, right, in the next decade, right? So are you planning to be around in the next 10, 20, 50 years? If so, what does that look like? Now, let's go, you know, take the time to do assessments. So there's things that you can do, assessments where you're reaching out to the employees and you're engaging. It takes time. So it's literally like steering at the Titanic, right? So you're actually trying to turn. It's going to be a really, really slow turn. And I don't know why I picked the Titanic, but I'm thinking
we don't want to make you panic.
We're not wanting you to sink here, people, but we're wanting you to see the really, really big ship and know that it takes time to turn. And it's that intention, right? You do not, and it's that intention of the leaders and their willingness to decide, no matter what, I am going to create a company that thrives. I'm going to create a space where people want to work, where people are engaged, where people are happy to come to work. And when they go home, because what I tell people is when you work somewhere that you can't stand, that's hard, that's difficult, what you have done is created dysfunction, because now that person goes home and they take that all out on their family. And they actually come to work for the people they love. So when you can create an environment where people can leave and still have energy to love the people that they come to work for, you win. You win every time. And we don't have enough leaders who want to create that. But when you decide that, then it doesn't matter how you get there. It's all about, this is what I'm going to do no matter what. And you'll be willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my opinion, I think every employee of all levels of the organization has the ability to be a leader. And I've actually had arguments with senior executives about that philosophy. You know, you have to have the job title to be the leader. You know, you have to, you know, be the VP or the manager, you know. And I said, no, every single employee can be a leader in their own abilities, skill sets, talents, personal drives. Everybody, as Andre said earlier, personal leadership, every single person. It's just the ability of identifying what that leadership skill set is. And even if you don't have the job title, you still can be you know, a leader in your team to support with your talents and drives. And I think, and because a lot of people don't want to be a manager.
No, but I mean, I think the best idea is, like, I remember doing a presentation recently, and I did some research. The Happy Meal came from, you know, the Happy Meal that McDonald's has that sells, I think it's like 3 billion a year or something ridiculous like that. It came from a franchise owner, the manager at a franchise, right? Got the idea, right? Post-its came from employees, right? The reason Starbucks writes the names on the cup is because an employee thought about doing it and in align with the vision of the company to make Starbucks a warm and comfortable place to go have coffee, right? So I think your best ideas come from your employees. And so it's a partnership, right? And people are more creative and innovative in environments where they feel good. When you feel under pressure, when you feel like you're being watched, when you feel like you're not good enough, your brain constricts. You do not get flow of blood to your brain and you go into fight or flight. Right? So you actually go into the fear. So what we want people to do is to feel comfortable and relax and feel good. Then they feel like they'll share and they see it different. They see the same thing instead of being a challenge as an opportunity. I always say your obstacles become opportunities, and your pitfalls become platforms, right? You will change the way you look at things when you feel better about where you are.
Right. Well, I just want to also mention, we use what's called the TMA, which is very much about positive psychology.
Yeah.
And now we're going to show this is actually the TMA. Isn't that good timing there? But yeah, the TMA is outstanding. Meshell, my companies have used the TMA. We're kind of a pilot company for this tool. Also, Comp Team is a huge sponsor of this tool, but it's all about positive psychology of identifying strengths and passions and what ignites you, what makes you tick. And it has been such a positive approach. So when you mentioned the assessment, this is a little bit different. This assessment goes into more the positive aspects of what your talents and drives are and what your interests are. And then it also provides a great ability to talk with your employees. Also, we have apps that are right on your phone. So you can easily have conversations right at your fingertips. And I have to say, my employees have gotten so energized and enthused about talking about what interests them. And when they perceive there's a negative aspect, no, there's a positive side to it as well. It's not just because you're on one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum. But yeah, we absolutely love the TMA. And by the way, if anybody that's listening to this recording or watching this recording, just email compteam.net. Support at compteam.net, and we'll be able to provide you perhaps a free assessment to try it out. So Meshell, you might want to try this out.
Oh, yeah.
And then also get an assessment and then see how you can use it with some of your coaching and mentoring and supporting companies with finding their why and ambitions. So love it. But do you have how do people get a hold of you, Meshell, and what can we do to get a hold of you? Oh, we're talking about our next week's speaker.
Oh, no worries. So I put in the LinkedIn chat, but this is what I created. So on my website, I have a page that says what next. And it goes there and it takes you, so you can either do a one-on-one, you can talk to me about your team. You can sign up for my newsletter, right? So it's the 4 ways that I always recommend people to connect with me. But the other way is just stay connected on LinkedIn, right? That is, 87% of B2B buyers check you out on LinkedIn before they ever make a phone call. So
Yep. Well, that's why it's called LinkedIn, because we're supposed to link in with each other. That's why it is called. But yeah, I'll definitely link in with you. Yes, is that your website there?
Yep. So that's the page. And
Okay.
if you scroll down, you'll see the links. They'll be on the, yeah.
I love it. Yes. That looks fun. So anybody can go to your page and check all of that out.
Yeah, I smile a lot.
Oh, that's good. That's great. Well, we're so happy to have you on board and listening and participating with us. We'd love to be referral partners and support you with your passions.
Yeah,
And
I'm excited to try your tool. Yeah, anything that helps people,
TMA?
right? I always say, until we get to the tipping point where we got 51% more positivity in the world, we don't have enough tools and people doing this work.
Right.
There's
Awesome.
enough. We got to create abundance in our world.
So that's awesome. So Sam, who's our speaker for next week? You want to pull up the slide?
Sure, absolutely. So we have Daniela Mulvey.
And how to hire
Go ahead, Julie.
5-star employees. So I think that as alignment with Meshell, what you're saying is finding, what is a 5-star employee? I think a 5-star employee has really found their ambition and are excited with confidence, right? So that's also a great tool when you're hiring the very best fit that's aligned with your mission, vision, and values. So, well, thank you, Meshell. It's been a pleasure having you on board. I know we're reaching the top of the hour. Jules, has there been any other additional comments that have come up?
We had that, it was from Andre, actually, that it was a pleasure to witness your energy and digest your sparkling insights. I thought that was a really nice comment. I'm like, if someone said that to me, I'd want to hear that compliment. So
Meshell, you said about your energy.
I know. I would tell people flattery will get you everywhere.
Absolutely. And yeah, energy is so contagious. I say that all the time. I'm like, you know, people match your energy. So whatever you're bringing out there, if you're bringing out balloon backdrops and a big smile, I mean, like, how can anyone be mad back? You know, like, thank you for creating just such a fun conversation and fun environment. And I personally loved all your analogies. I love like the sports ones, your expert dish, because, you know, it just really like gets into your brain. You remember things like that. So love the analogies.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Meshell, and thanks for
thank you.
joining us today. I think we're getting to the top of the hour now. So we
Yeah, I
appreciate
don't
you.
think you have your clock handy, right, Shah? So
No, I'm not looking at the clock.
Yeah.
I'm just living on my energy right here.
yeah, you're on your own timeline. That's fine.
Part time.
Sam, did you want to jump in and add anything? I know like your Wi-Fi's been a little spotty, but if you want to say anything before we log out.
Yeah, no, yeah, apologize. My Wi-Fi has been a little spotty, but I just had to say, Meshell, it's been a wonderful conversation, and thank you for sharing your expertise. And I just think it's such important work that you do. The most important thing that any of us have discovered over the past few years is that we need to seize the day. We need to find what's really meaningful to us and do that thing, because life is short and we need to take advantage of our time that we have here and move with it. So thank you
Yes.
so much for showing the way.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. You guys are absolutely amazing gifts. I loved all of your comments and sharings. So together, you guys are a force to be reckoned with for good. This has just been awesome.
Well, we'd love to have you come back as a future speaker again sometime, Meshell. So thanks so much.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week,
Same
and
time.
and enjoy your summer wherever you're at in this world.
Right.
And
Cheers,
thanks,
everyone.
Shah, for leading the
Bye.
way, taking over.
Bye.
Like, you know, we roll with the punches here. When technology's down, we all, you know, do our bits. So thanks,
You
Shah.
know, I just need to get an old-fashioned watch. Do you think I should get a
That's
Okay.
all right. You were perfectly on time.
All right. Well, thank you, Meshell, and everybody have a great day. Appreciate everyone's time.
Bye.
Bye.
One.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.